All right. Welcome to Wing Chun Talk episode number 12. Thank you so much for being here. If you are here for the first time, please make sure to check out all the previous episodes. If you're back for another listen, sit tight. We got another special guest with me today. I have Alexander Lee, who is trained for the past 10 or 12 years here in the Sum Jee lineage. So I'm going to get his story and dig into some of his lineages, how it's broken down, and how they train in that lineage there. So, welcome, Alexander. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me. Hi guys, how's it going?
Great. I'm glad you have a moment here to share with me, and appreciate you doing this. So, thanks again.
All right, no problem.
So usually, yeah, just jump right in. Don't give anybody really time to start thinking, but want to just jump into your Wing Chun story. So tell us a little bit, maybe how you got into Wing Chun initially, and what
hmm
kept you going.
Okay, so like everybody else, at some stage you've been idolizing Bruce Lee, so did I. So as a kid, I was watching all these kung fu movies: Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Donnie Yen, blah blah blah, you name it. And I was living in Vancouver for a while, between 1999 and 2001, 2002. And my uncle, who was also a martial arts fanatic, has been doing various kinds of martial arts. And ultimately, he found this lineage called Guangzhou Wing Chun, so which is actually the Sum Jee lineage, which is what I'm practicing right now. And he and I were really close, and so he thought that, oh, I'm doing this style, so I find its theories really good, so I think I should let Alex know about it. So eventually he told me, and he introduced this whole new concept of Wing Chun, because I did read some books on Yip Man lineage, but never actually had the time or the connection to go meet a Sifu in the Yip Man lineage. So until he introduced this to me, and I was like, oh wow, it's a lot different from what I read. So um, but it wasn't until 2008 that I was actually introduced to my Sifu through one of my peers from Vancouver, who was actually living in Canada at the time. So yeah, since 2008, I started training with my Sifu Sum Jee, Sum Geng, which is the son of Sum Jee. And to be really specific, Sum Jee is actually the uncle of Sum Nang, coincidentally. So my Sifu is actually Sum Nang's cousin.
Okay.
Yeah. So Sum Nang is called. He has he has been offered the title the father of Guangzhou Wing Chun, because he started the Guangzhou Wing Chun Association back in 1989, and he was the first chairman of the association. So yeah, that was the lineage. And before him, Sum Nang was training under Yun Kei-san.
Mm.
Yun Kei-san was another legend himself. I think I've been posting quite a few articles in various Wing Chun forums on Facebook, so you can go read about him on my through my article.
Mm-hmm.
And before him, he was studying. Before Yun Kei-san, sorry to be specific, he was training under a very famous county constable, Feng Xiucheng. So from him, Feng Xiucheng has been learning Wing Chun and some Chin techniques, because county constable, which is very similar to police officer at that time.
Yeah, sure.
So their techniques were usually joint controls and joint catching and grabbing. So nice. He met further on. Okay, somehow it's really weird. I'm saying this backwards, the lineage thing, but anyways,
that's fine.
Feng Xiucheng's Sifu is Fok Boquan, whom met Yin Wing Chun's husband through the Red Opera junk. One of the big four that he met and trained. So it was from Fok Boquan that the double blades were passed on.
Okay.
That's how our lineage says so anyways.
Okay.
And because at some stage, Wing Chun's husband, Liang Bok To, was salt transporter. He used to be transporting salt to various provinces in China. And at some stage, Fok Bo-chun was a pirate. Was it a pirate or one of those? I think it was a pirate. Yeah. Anyways, so Liang Bok To uses the long staff because he was trained under the Shaolin before he learned Wing Chun from his wife. And Fok Bo-chun was using double blades. So they met and they fought and they thought, oh, your blades were good. And he thought that, oh, your staff was good. So they mutually exchanged the techniques. And that's how the system acquired both weapons. Or at least that's how our lineage say so. So yeah, other lineage may have different history background on all the forms and weapons, but yeah, that's the history.
Wow.
So yeah, back to my lineage. So it's the Sum Nang to Sum Jee, and then to my Sifu Sum Ging, who is also in Hong Kong right now. And to give you a little bit more information about our curriculum. First off, when we meet our Sifu, I think every school has it. You start with the Yizi Kimyama. That's the opening ceremony.
Sure.
Yeah. The getting indicted to the school. So yeah, that's how we went. And before learning anything else, we started with 4 basic punches.
Okay.
That's the normal, the straight punch.
Yeah.
We call it the meridian punch, the deepen choi, because that's how we learn our center line and where it's from, where it's at, and how it's applied to the body. And then moving along, we have the side punch. If I can just back up my camera a little bit. I'm not doing this right because I'm sitting down.
Sure.
So
sure.
That's if you can see my punch, it goes to the side.
Yeah, and I'll explain. So basically, it's coming from the side of your body.
Yeah, and then we will do the Junma turn and punch at that direction again.
Okay, so you turn the 90, or is that?
Yeah, it's a 90-degree turn, and we do about 10 or a dozen punches, and then we will switch to the opposite end.
Oh, cool.
So it is to make sure that you are comfortable and you're adjusted to your body rotating.
Yeah.
Because to us, when we turn to either side, it's the spinal cord and the pelvic bone combined as a unit to turn as a face, turning that way,
sure.
Turning to an angle. And we will adjust, we will get our body used to doing that facing and turning before moving to the third punch, which is the arrow punch, incorporating this movement with the step going to the direction of where you're punching.
Okay.
Then the fourth punch is a combination of both, where we do a 180-degree turn, straight forward.
All right.
Sorry, yeah, my phone just rang, so I was interrupted. Yeah, so it's a 180-degree turn.
So your body is turning. Here, let me just explain this for people who are listening. So basically your body turns 180, but you're punching at a 90, I guess. Would that be, you're punching straight forward, but your body is rotating from a 0 to a 180? I don't know how I could explain that the best, but.
Yes, that's right. You are absolutely correct to describe. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So
after the 4 basic punches, we learn the the basic stuff, the tan bong fo, moving on slowly into the the first form, so xiu lim tao.
Okay.
We call it xiu lin tao instead of xiu lin tao. To most, 小念頭 basically means little idea form, but to us, it's called 小念頭. It's spelled differently, pronounced differently, because to us, it means the beginning of a practice.
Oh.
So yeah, so we call it 小念頭 because the first form is actually the first form of everything else. So it's the first thing that you do before during a practice. So it's 小念頭.
Okay.
Yeah. And then slowly moving on to individual 散式 drills, like breaking down the movements within the 小念頭, how to use them and how to incorporate them in actual combat. And then little 散式 from the 小念頭, and then slowly progressing to the second form 長橋 and 標指 and so on and so forth. And then we have something called the 12散式, which is in English the 12 separate drills. And these are essentially the essence derived from these three forms used in non-qigong situations. After that, we will move on to the, during the three forms and the sciences and all that, we have a qigong practice, which is broken down into 2 stages. And I think I've written that down in my article somewhere about my lineage on Facebook. So 圈手, the circling hands, is the first step, which is to get to know how to use your 挑手, your bridge arm, to feel the energy flow from the opponent or from your training partner in that sense. So we do a rolling motion around the arm, inside and outside of your training partner.
Okay.
So once we get that down, we will move on to the second stage, which is the actual qigong part, which is to feel the energy flow, the excessive energy flow when the movement changes, just like an ordinary qigong from any other lineage. And we incorporate how to find an opening and how to defend when somebody usurps that opening from you. Yeah, and then moving on to the wooden dummy and the weapons. And finally, after all that, we have a qigong set called 神氣歸元, which translates into English the kidney chi unification set.
Oh, good.
So the idea of this qigong is because we incorporate, we consider ourselves internal martial arts, because from our body movement and from the way we use our attacks, the energy, how we draw our energy is similar to Tai Chi or Baji or Xing Yi. We use the entire body from the ground, our body as a medium, to direct a punch, and you snap it out. So it's exactly like Bruce Lee says, when you punch is like a metal ball attached with a metal chain, it goes whang, exactly as he explained it. So because we use the energy through our body and use our fist as a medium, so we will use some of the energy from our organs and from the spine and all that. So after that expulsion or that emission, we need to bring that or harness the qi back into our body or into the organs. So this is what the qigong set is for.
Right. Okay, so I got many questions.
Go ahead.
No, that's
I'm sure
perfect.
everybody else does.
No, I love it. I appreciate you giving us kind of a quick, an overview of how things are done in your line there, in your lineage. So is that how the class is broken down, or is that the sequence? Sorry, that's the sequence of training, correct? But like, does everybody do qigong at the end of class, or is that a qigong training so you can actually instruct the qigong form, or like, give me a little info on that.
My sifu would teach qigong as the very last thing in the curriculum.
I see. Because
that's how he explained that to me, as I explained to you just now. But my siso in Vancouver, Master Choi Soi Ming, he teaches the qigong set separately as like an exercise for whoever needs it, because it's like a set of it's similar to a set of stretching exercise with
Sure.
correct breathing tempo and all that rejuvenates the muscles as well while you're doing it. So it's actually beneficial to people of all age and sizes,
So
basically. Yeah.
I guess what I'm asking, would that be part of the class? Like, would he go over, so you'd say, give me a class breakdown. You kind of do some exercises, you do some drills, you do maybe your level at what level you're at, and then would you finish with qigong like in a class setting, or is that just you wouldn't learn the qigong aspect until like a higher level, kind of after you've completed basically the forms and the so on?
Yeah, for me, I haven't learned the qigong set yet. So yeah, so for me, how my sifu builds his curriculum structure is he will teach it at the very last stage. Once you get all past the techniques, the dummies, and all the weapons and the qisao and that. Yeah.
Sure.
Because ultimately, my sifu believes that. Sorry for interrupting. Yeah. So he believes that. Wing Chun is ultimately a fighting art, so the fighting aspect should be emphasized more. So he spends a lot of time doing T-sao and off-bridge sparring.
Okay.
So he emphasized that more than anything else. So he would put qigong at the very last thing.
I'm sorry, I just broke out there, or I missed that last sentence you said.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Oh, I just said I missed that last sentence that you said there. Broke up here.
Oh, yeah. My sifu considered qigong as the very last thing that should be taught in the whole system. So yeah, he just puts it at the very end. That's
and so basically he's teaching it so you could take the system and then teach it. Is that kind of how he breaks it down then? Because I mean, yeah.
That's it. Because ultimately everything he passes on, he considered it should be passed on anyways, but it's just that how he breaks things down in sequence to teach. Yeah.
Sure. So as a junior, we'll go kind of back to, so basically you said your uncle kind of got you into Wing Chun and this specific Sum Jee.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. And then
he is. Sorry, you were going to ask?
No. I was just kind of curious on basically. I know you were big into martial arts, and were you looking for Wing Chun, or I mean, like were you looking for something like Wing Chun? What were you looking for? I guess at the beginning stage.
Well, when I was in high school in Vancouver, because that's where my uncle was and most of my relatives were. They are still. My uncle moved to Toronto eventually.
A fellow Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to all the Canadians out there.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah. So he taught me some kickboxing.
Okay.
Back when I was in high school, like as a means to not get bullied because I'm Asian.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, funny thing is that's a side story. Sure. He said the three things that at least anyone should know is how to drive, how to fire a gun, and how to protect yourself with your fist. So
right. Yeah. Good. Awesome uncle. Awesome uncle for sure.
He is. So he first taught me like basic kickboxing, what to do, and like the tempo and all that. But well, when he was doing other stuff other than Wing Chun, he did capoeira back in Vancouver, and he did some other type of Wing Chun, from which lineage I do not remember.
Sure.
Yeah, but I wasn't really being specific on what I was looking for because I was focusing on studies and other things in life.
Of course.
Back at the time, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
of course.
yeah, and it wasn't until he actually was rooted to, I would say, to this lineage that he said, oh, you should be doing this if you were looking into Wing Chun. So I have been reading up, as I said, about Wing Chun, mostly with Yip Man books because that's the most publications you can find, I
Sure.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a basic concept of what Wing Chun is, its theories. It's suitable for people, or not people, suitable for fighting in very close range.
Yeah.
And most people would think, conceptualize it as it's an art that can be used in very tight, very limited space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but when I actually got into learning Wing Chun, I discovered that it's way more than that.
Mm.
It's a whole lot. It's a whole lot deeper and more sophisticated than that. Yeah, that's how I would put it.
Nice. Nice. Awesome. So okay, so I'm all over the place. So give me give me a breakdown of the class. Like obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously. I don't know where training is right now. I mean, we're kind of for people listening to this in the future, we're 2020, COVID.
Yeah.
How are things where you're at right now? Are you able to train?
No, I haven't been actually in touch with my Sifu for, well, except on phone, uh, for I think a little bit over a month
Yeah.
because of the COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
But I have been actually teaching myself. I have one student right now.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
and I've been teaching him once every week. So yeah, and he's been doing it for almost nearly 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, yeah, and even though I'm not training my Sifu, you're still in a part of training because you need to mentally or physically prepare yourself to teach. And that's a whole different process because you have to digest what you've learned
Yeah.
and to be able to interpret it in your own words and say it and tell it to somebody else. That's a whole different ballgame.
Mm-hmm. No kidding.
And that's a whole new self-discovery to what you've been achieving so far.
Yeah.
And that's just the next step.
Nice. Nice. Um, so what brought you back to Hong Kong? So can you tell me a little bit about that? So you were in Vancouver. Is that
Mhm.
you didn't find though Wing Chun specifically where you're at right now until you went to Hong Kong?
Yeah, that's correct. Because as I said, high school, teenager, you're struggling with life choices, which university to go to, or to actually go to university or not. So
What to do?
what to do, what
Not to
subjects to
do.
take, and all that. Yeah,
Yeah.
or what not to do. Yeah, as you say. So yeah, I made the choice of not going to college or university and went back to Hong Kong and actually started working.
Okay.
So yeah, it was all life choices, and yeah, spent 6 years working before I actually met my Sifu through my peers in Vancouver, through a connection from my uncle,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I don't regret coming back to Hong Kong because otherwise I wouldn't have met my Sifu.
no, that's perfect. And tell me, like, it seems like it's relatively, I don't want to use the word obscure, but like it seems very small, would you say, like the organization or the lineage that you're in, or is it fairly popular? Like, and I forgive me because this is like, I mean, this is the first I've heard about it. I mean, I've seen you posting in the group and stuff like that in
Hmm.
different forums
Hmm.
as well.
No, not
That's
at
why I
all.
reached
Yeah.
out and wanted to kind of inquire into it more.
Well, the reason I've been posting is, yeah, because exactly as you say, not a lot of people know about my lineage.
Mm-hmm.
So, but because we've been on a very low profile for so long, even if the Guangzhou Wing Chun Association has been established since 1989, still not a lot of people outside of Guangzhou knows about it. So I believe it is time, or it's way past due time, that the world should know about other lineage other than what there is right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not in Hong Kong, you go to Guangzhou, everybody talks about Guangzhou Wing Chun, which is my lineage. So yeah, it is the big name because ultimately Yun Kei San is one of the big three.
Mm-hmm.
San, Yip Man, and Yu Choi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just gonna that post in the group there. I did have that book. An ex-girlfriend actually bought it for me when I first started Wing Chun, and at that
By
point,
Rene Ritchie.
yeah, and I had no idea. So I had no idea about lineages. Like when I started, um, I've said it many times. Some friends of mine were doing it, and I saw their grading, and I was just like, I got to do this. And so I kind of jumped into a school that was close to me that they recommended, or one of their sifus recommended, and
Hmm.
from then on, I just trained and just kept on training. So kind of found it, or it found me, whatever, however we want to speak to that, right? But
Yeah,
it's
it's
funny.
fate.
Yeah. But I did read that book, and I had it for the longest time, and it was definitely a good read because it had some stories of one case on there, um, just different battles or little fights he had, and it was quite
Yeah,
an
that book
interesting
is more on the history rather than the
techniques, right?
actual, yeah, the
Lineage.
syllabus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
But yeah, it's a good read for Wing Chun lovers. Yeah, I do recommend it. Go back to Facebook and see which book I was talking about.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Wing Chun
Yeah.
Talk group. Yeah, it's in there. So okay, so can you run me down, say, a typical class? Is that something you'd be open to share, or is that
Yeah. It's open to share. Yeah. So, um, first of all, it's not the environment. Let's talk about that because it's not a typical dojo or a gun that you would go to. As I said earlier, because we are on a very low profile, we do not have an actual school. Where we go to learn is actually my sifu's place, my sifu's apartment.
okay?
And in his apartment, he has a wooden dummy, as well as the long pole and the double blades and all that. And funny enough, my sifu moved in September last year. Before that, he was actually living on a rooftop in Hong Kong.
Mm.
So for those really traditional martial arts fanatics out there, yes, we do train on rooftops.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, those old school rooftop battles, and I'm sure if you anyone could recall an episode on Fight Quest where they actually fight on the two show hosts fought on the rooftop. Yes, we do train on rooftops.
Yeah, I remember that episode. Yeah.
Yeah, so because we go to his apartment to train, there is no specific time duration.
Okay.
We normally spend 3 4 hours there because we do eventually have dinner there as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, our SEMO would also cook and stop halfway between training, so we would eat, and after eating, we will continue our training. So yeah, what happens during a training is we go there, we do a little bit of stretching. So if we're not a beginner, we would first start warm up with the basic punches because that loosen up the spine and loosen up all the joints or the major joints, as I said in the article. In order for what happens next. So then we would do our forms sequentially,
Okay.
and then um, Sifu would come in and correct any mistakes he sees. And then once we get past that, we would eventually. Okay, I'll skip the dinner part. Okay,
Sure.
so
Thanks.
yeah, yeah. So after the forms, we would move on to the separate sansik drills. So like the basic bong sao, you call it bong sao lap sao, we call it something else bong sao kwai choi because this is a kwai choi.
Like a back fist,
The
sort of
if,
motion like a back
to,
fist, or
to us, a back fist is like the Bruce Lee one, where it goes horizontally, a horizontal snap.
okay.
Ours, what we do, which is similar to what every lineage does, the vertical one is
Okay.
called a kwai choi.
Okay.
And I think other Chinese martial arts have that term as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so we call it bong sao kwai choi,
Okay.
and like the variations of like tan da and you call it Kwan Sao, we call it the Bun Tan Bong because that's essentially what it is, a half tan and a half ball.
Oh, I call it bontan or yeah, bontan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bun tan ball.
Oh, buntan bon.
Yeah, bun tan ball. Bun means half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so half tan and half ball. So bun tan ball. Yeah, so we do that and variations of the bong style applications, the folk style, and the pak style, pak da drills and all that, and incorporating into the movement, footwork and all that. And yeah, and yes, we do have kicks, but we never kick anywhere above the waist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, because I'm 6'2". There's no point lifting my legs higher than my waist because I'll ultimately be taken down anyways. So
right.
Yeah, and then we will move on to the wooden dummy, and we would train the wooden dummy form over and over again, and then our Steve would stop us like halfway or once we finish and start training the techniques from the wooden dummy drill, the wooden dummy form, and break it into separate drills.
Oh, nice.
And then and we will move on to the poles, and we break down the pole form into two separate bits. The one bit is the actual hold the entire routine.
Okay. And
the other part is where we just trained the lift, the sink, and the spear and the back.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry. So that part is the basic part of the pole form, and that is how to train us to use the entire body as a projectile. We call it, because we focus the body mass onto the tip of the pole as we send it out.
Oh, I see.
And when we bring it back. So, of course, nowadays we don't have a 6-foot pole to carry around anywhere, but in actual combat, the application is how you would project your body mass into the opponent or bringing it to you.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then the double blades, and we would train the double blades with blades and without, because everybody knows the empty hand forms are essentially the blades. And we do a lot of trapping exercise.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So so you cover everything, and if people are at different levels, then obviously they just cover up what they know, and then they keep drilling those. So I kind of want to jump in here, because in our club, or how, it's not specific, I don't think it's line specific, but we get a sprinkling of the dummy shortly after we learn the basic hand, bon sao, ton sao, fook, maybe the tondas, like some of those things. Then then we're able to do those on the wooden dummy, not regularly, but you could just kind of get it sprinkled in from kind of beginner to kind of get used to working on the dummy. Is that something you guys do, or do you wait to hit the dummy and learn the dummy form later on?
We do that too, because the emphasis is we will not always have a training partner other than Sifu, of course.
Sure.
So we need to be able to execute the techniques at the correct angle and facing with the correct structure. So we would train even the simplest things, like a very simple tan sao. Once we learn that, we will learn how to do it without any training partner, without the Sifu. We would do it with a training partner, a live training partner, and we would do it onto the dummy. So whenever we're there without any xiheng or xidai, we would just go like that.
So you're just doing on air.
Just tan sao, just plain tan sao with no partner. And then we will move on to do it on the dummy to see if our landing points are correct, because to us, a tanzao is a 2-point contact. By that I mean, 2-point contact. It's the back of your palm. The back of your palm will also touch the opponent's arm, somewhere along the opponent's arm, because the angle where your palm and your forearm makes is an actual lock.
Okay.
And where we land our tanzao is right at the bend of the elbow, and that lock supposedly locks the opponent's arm. So we have to train intricate things like that, like specific angles in your body structure to make it efficient.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I understand a lot of tanzao is just a plain flat palm. To us is a little bit more intricate than that.
Yeah. I was noticing the bend versus straight. So is that one of the major differences, say, like with, I mean, other than sorry, there's quite a few differences, but I mean, like, technique wise, because not everybody will be able to see. I mean, we're kind of doing audio here, and maybe some people will see some of the video, but like, a bonsao is a bonsao for you guys. The tonsao, I saw the wrist. Do you bend the wrist on the bon as well, or just the tonsao?
Okay, that's a very good question. For us, our bonsao, structure-wise, is almost the same, but we will always point our forearm out into the opponent rather than just at the 90 degrees. 90 degrees. We would always have it larger than 90 degrees.
Yeah.
If I'm doing it sideways. Let's see. Just for you or whoever can see this. Yeah. It's always 135 degrees.
Okay.
Because we extend it a 45 degrees more out to the opponent.
Yeah, we're there as well. Yeah.
Because for us, we believe that's the most efficient way to dissolve or to redirect the energy. And we will always have our palm rather than straight.
Okay.
We will always have our palm pointing to the opponent. That way, we would be touching his arm.
Okay.
So it's always half a beat. To us, it's always half a beat faster, because by that, when we have our palm touching the opponent's arm, if he tries to move or change into any other techniques, we would know firsthand, because our hand is already there, and we would react to that. So to us, we focus more on these intricacies on angles.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. And you were saying the differences between my lineage and most commonly known lineages. As I said earlier, we consider ourselves an internal martial arts because we have a fucking incorporated into it, like an energy emission. So the idea is, rather than doing chain punches, we do practice chain punching, but the purpose is not to hit 2,000 punches in 2 seconds. Okay. To us, that's a wrong conception.
Sure.
For us, the chain punching is to train the speed where you change the technique. It's about tempo and pace, rather than to use that as an actual weapon.
Explain that a little bit to me.
Okay, so we do chain punching. So I'm doing chain punching in front of the camera.
Sure.
I do it at a certain speed.
Yeah.
That helps me to change into if the punch doesn't work, it helps me to change into another technique. That chain punch, the speed derived from chain punching helps you change into another technique.
Okay, just your quickness.
When it's blocked.
I see.
It's a quickness, rather than an actual application.
Okay.
Oh, and so in that sense, when we incorporate Fatgeng into our punch, it's more like hammering a nail into a wall. You go bang, bang, bang into the opponent's core. And essentially, to us, fighting is and applying these techniques and skills into combat is what it is. You are how to use your techniques to move the opponent by its mass. We don't just do trapping for trapping. We are trying to move the person by trapping. Trapping is medium.
Oh yeah.
So we are always attacking the body mass.
Huh.
That's what we focus on.
Nice.
So something that we have, which is, I believe, I'm not sure everybody has it, is the wooden dummy that we use is made from a very heavy wood. A very heavy wood type. I forgot which, I think it's mahogany. I'm not sure, but it's a very heavy wood, because when we actually exert our force into the dummy, we actually, first of all, it's a spring-based dummy. There's a 4 springs attached at the bottom.
Okay.
So it bounces back.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, to give you a little bit more specifications. So yes, the spring dummy is, it's a spring-based dummy. So when we practice our forms and use our techniques, it's basically more focused on making the dummy bounce rather than just doing your techniques on the dummy.
So you're manipulating the weight of the dummy and you're kind of moving it and seeing how it reacts sort of with as you're applying techniques, I suppose.
Yes, it is, because ultimately that's what you're doing to a live enemy or a training partner.
It's interesting because I have a freestanding dummy, and I was always trying to get it more solid, like so it doesn't move, because it actually, I'm moving it around, which is great in the sense that I have to kind of follow it, or I move it and I change the angles, which is a great training tool as well. But I wanted it stationary, and I kept putting different weights on, and finally I moved it out to the garage, and I what is it? I fixed it to some studs at the top. So now it doesn't move hardly at all. Now
you have it mounted.
Basically, yeah. So now I'm just kind of, there's no real give anymore. So.
Yeah, but if you think of Newton's third law in physics, every action has an equal and opposite reaction on the same plane or on the same trajectory. If you have the dummy mounted, fixed on a wall or whatever, so it doesn't move, when you do a technique or when you exert your force through whichever angle, that energy goes back into you, and that's harmful. Even if you're moving with your footwork, it's still harmful because it bounces back into you. And that shouldn't happen, because you want all your force into the dummy or training partner or the enemy whatsoever. So you should let the dummy move or bounce or whatever you call it. So when you have the dummy bouncing or recoiling, it's you that should be manipulating through your body alignment, your facing, your footwork, to dissolve that recoiling energy back into you and change it into something else.
I don't think I've seen spring-based dummies, but I haven't seen them move. I'll have to Google that. I'm sure there's some videos out there that I can check, because I've seen the base of them, and mine's just like a solid base plate, right? Like 3/4 inch, and then piping or whatever, and to hold the wood in there, the body. But yeah, I always thought that was a pain, because I'd do like double hands and it would slide. It's just like, oh, that makes sense.
Oh, it's a catastrophe for those who are trying to get it at the first stage. I would think.
Well, yeah, it's like, stop moving. But yeah, it makes sense. I mean, kind of move it around and manipulate it. That's great. That's yeah, interesting. You say that. And a little light bulb moment.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's momentum. Mostly, it's all about momentum. And, using body weight and applying the body mass, yours and the opponent's.
Okay,
in this
cool.
case, the wooden dummies. Yeah.
So basically, you start the dummy from the beginning. Just you won't learn the form until later on, because it can be used as a training tool. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yes, it's part of the training tool. We practice our structure, our angles, our facing before actually getting into the wooden dummy form at a later stage.
Nice.
And speaking of training tools, which I didn't mention earlier, at the fundamental stage, after learning the 4 basic punches, we have something called, we have different training tools, as I mentioned. So for those who don't, for those who have read my article about my lineage, you would know it's 4 tools that we use to develop 4 different characteristics of our system. So the first thing is we use candles, punching out a candle, punching out a lit candle, sorry.
Yeah.
That trains your accuracy.
Oh.
And then the second thing we train is a rattan ring.
I was going to ask if you use that. Yeah.
Yes, we do. That's the second thing. The rattan ring, it's helped us to get into our structures so that we will always have our wu sao together with whatever technique in front we use. And at certain specific angles or tightness or closeness to your body. That for those who aren't reading, who can't see the camera, is having my structure at different ranges, close to my body, middle, and out, and all that. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah. So the third tool we use is a Chinese calendar, which can be ripped off. You can Google that, what it is. And for those who don't have one, you can use a yellow page.
Oh.
Or an old dictionary or an old encyclopedia, just rip off the hardcover. What it is we train the energy penetration. So by how much when you punch into the book or the encyclopedia, whatever it is, you punch it, supposedly the book will wrinkle. The more developed or the more loose your joints are, the more your energy can penetrate into the book. And so meaning the more pages can be ripped off by one punch.
So would that be the equivalent of like a wall bag or something similar?
Yes, that's correct. But one thing that we do not suggest having a wall bag is it bounces.
Oh.
Yeah. So it dissolves your energy as it bounces. So it kind of ruins the purpose. That's how we see it anyways.
Okay. So your encyclopedia or your book basically kind of absorbs your force? Is that? No.
Yeah. Yeah, because it doesn't bounce back or it doesn't recoil. So all the energy you hit goes into the book, the dictionary, whatever it is.
And what the pages, explain to me, the pages rip off, or like they will rip off over time, or how
they will rip off over time.
Yeah, okay.
Well, first of all, is they will wrinkle because you punch into it.
Yeah.
Then the more you punch, the more loose your body is, or the more energy you emit to it, ultimately will lead to the pages being ripped off.
Oh, cool. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so that is a sign of progression. Oh, how many pages gets ripped off means how deep your penetration goes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we
candles,
have
so rattan ring.
Candles, the rattan ring, and we have the encyclopedia, the Chinese calendar, whatever you call it. Yeah.
Sure.
So these are some of the things that we have.
Nice.
That also we have something that we have to train our gripping, because ultimately you do a lap sao, which involves grabbing a person's arm, and we have a specific tool that we have to strengthen our gripping power, the gripping strength. We get a bunch of chopsticks and we tie it up with a bunch of elastic bands.
Okay.
So what we do is we twist them up, and we twist them down into a lap sao.
Okay.
And the key thing is we only tighten our grip at the top and at the bottom.
Oh, nice.
Because supposedly halfway in between is the traveling period, which doesn't require as much strength as on top or as bottom.
Yeah.
Because that's where you control the joint.
Yeah. Nice.
And I believe that's something not available in other lineages.
I've never
And
heard.
that's what makes our style. Yeah, that's what makes our style unique. Is these four training tools.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen the candle, not in. I haven't seen it in like schools or clubs using
Mm-hmm.
it. I haven't heard it as a training tool. I've seen it, people, and basically you're just trying to blow that lit candle out with, or what do you? Yeah, explain it.
How my
Explain that.
Sifu, yeah, sure. How my Sifu explain it is it's a little bit different to what we would think. We would normally think, oh, punching out a candle is easy. Just keep hitting at it. But my Sifu explained it as blowing it out with your punch is a byproduct. The main priority is to make the flame move as you're punching. So you punch the flame, it goes that.
Yeah.
And when you withdraw your punch, it goes the other way.
Oh, okay. So you're pushing and then you pull it. The flame is the basic idea of the principle or the
yeah. And we would do it like 1 foot away from the candle. Once we get that down, we would move another step back and another step back and another step back, because that's how you would loosen up your joints in order to incorporate that energy to travel that far to hit to blow the candle.
Interesting.
Because he explains it as this: your punch will not be effective if it's all over the place like a shotgun. You should always train your punch like every single shot fired from a Beretta.
Mm-hmm. Sharp and piercing, like something.
Sharp and piercing, yes, exactly. That's what it is.
Cool. That's so cool. Huh. Awesome. So rattan ring, I've seen them as well.
Yeah, that's something that most lineage have, and its
they're available.
Serves the same.
Yeah. I just I got one. My sister gave me one for a gift, and I was just like, I haven't used these. I'm not sure how to use it, so I feel so bad. I didn't use it, so it's okay, cool. And then awesome. So Silam Tao probably fairly similar. There's not much differences, or are there like it's hard to say, because I mean, there's always differences even from like a lineage to a lineage, but just depending on who's the Sifu or what's added or what's slightly changed. And but for the most part, would it be fairly similar?
I would say 90% similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you go on YouTube and look under Sum Jee, that's SUMJEE, Wing Chun, you would actually see a video of me doing our version of the Silim Tao.
Oh,
so
nice.
What's the major difference is, I believe, other than having Fatking into every form we have.
Okay, explain a little bit. Can you explain a little bit of the Fat Jing? I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Fat Ging, or Fa Jing in Mandarin, Fat Ging in Cantonese, is literally energy emission.
Right.
Okay, so it's how to propel the energy you draw from the ground through at least 7 major joints in your body: your ankles, your knees, your hip, your spine, your shoulder, your elbow, your wrist, into your punch. That's what makes the candle blow out even at a very far range. It's sort of like a Hadoken or a Kamehameha without the very big glossy effect.
Right.
Okay, let's put it in a very funny way. Yeah. Sure. So in actual combat, it's the snap you see in Bruce Lee's 1-inch punch, but obviously we do it with a less dramatic effect. It's sort of like a bullet going through the body.
Yeah.
That's the most simplest way to say it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So go back to what I was saying about our difference in Silim Tao.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I believe most Yipman lineage have the Sao in the Beauty form. the up and down with the wrist and the sideways of the wrist.
Yeah.
We have that in the very beginning of our Xiu Tao.
Okay.
Because there's a reason for that is, as I mentioned earlier, we say Xiu Tao as Xiu Tao because its meaning is the beginning of our training. So what that is once we have our Yiji Qingyang Ma, or our stance positioned, body adjusted, the next thing is how to maximize the movement or the range of motion of your joints. And that's what the Sum Jee is for, to maximize the range of motion on your wrist. That's why it's the first thing in our Xiu Tao.
Maximize the range on your wrist.
Yes.
Okay.
So okay, obviously for demonstration purpose, if you see that video on YouTube that I mentioned,
yeah,
the range of motion is a little bit smaller. But when we actually practice at Sifu's place, or when we're training on our own, we would actually go all the way up to our eyebrow.
Oh.
We would actually go all the way up to our eyebrow, lower it all the way to our belly button.
Okay.
And then opening our palms towards our shoulders and bringing it back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. To maximize the range of motion on your wrist.
Okay. Cool.
Because ultimately that's what it is. Because if you do, let's say, for example, if you block somebody's punch with a tan sao, and then you move in to a punch from the tan sao with the same hand, that helps you. Because if you're not facing the opponent from straight on, you're doing it offside, that's what you need to do that snap with your wrist.
Okay. Follow you now.
And that's one very key thing on our system, is that because I think I said this somewhere on forums, on the Facebook groups, that because my Sifu and his Sifu before him and even his before that are all people that are very small. My Sifu is, I think, 5'6" or 5'7", and a very scrawny guy.
Yeah.
There's no way he's going to be standing straight in front of me and take my punches. And to him, or their interpretation of Wing Chun, is always how to maximize their body weight, or to maximize the use of their body size, so they will never have somebody straight on.
Yeah.
They will always deflect, dissolve at an angle. And that's what their style is mostly about. So even for somebody that's my size, as I say, I'm 6'2", I can still incorporate that.
Right.
Because ultimately, I would interpret Wing Chun is using the least amount of effort to achieve the maximum result. Yeah. So if I'm always standing at an angle from your attacks, I would only need to exert a minimum or a very little amount of force to deflect or to block you. But if I have that opening from where I'm standing, and I could give you a major damage, then that's my maximum result.
Awesome. Wow. That's so cool. Yeah, I mean, it's great to kind of get a rundown and breakdown of how things are run in your line there. Anything else you want to kind of explain? I got a few other questions, but I mean, if you got something else you want to talk about training, or some similarities, differences, or
differences. I believe obviously our wooden dummy form and our weapons form are very different from most commonly known Yip Man lineage.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe Yip Man lineage has I think 108 moves. We don't actually keep count, but it's totally different.
Oh, really?
In terms of number of moves, or in terms of the actual moves themselves, it's totally different. I will eventually, actually, I was going to post a link on our version of the wooden dummy on all the Facebook groups that I'm in. But yeah, I'll keep that as a secret for now, but that's no longer a secret. So stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned. Perfect. I look
Yeah,
forward to it,
yeah,
Alexander.
stay tuned for that. I'll just give you a heads up. I think that the video I saw on YouTube was actually a very old vintage black and white clip. So anyways,
Oh, really? Okay, so there's
yeah,
some out there, but stay tuned for might see something from you coming up in the
yeah,
near future.
yeah,
Perfect.
something that I'm about to share this week. So yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
And then our pole form and our double blades are different.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, because Yip Man developed his blade forms after he moved to Hong Kong. That's what we know. So it's different from what we have been teaching, or what we have been passing down from our ancestors from Guangzhou, or predecessors, sorry. Yeah, so therefore the actual techniques in the blade form are different.
Okay.
And so is the pole form.
Okay. So basically, the first three forms pretty similar, pretty
Much.
minor differences, but big
Because
differences.
I've been into a few open events in Hong Kong, like martial arts styles events, like dinner gatherings and all that. I've seen quite a few still in Tao Cham Kiu Beauty from Ip Man lineage. It's technique wise, it's very, very similar.
Sure.
It's just that they don't have our fat gain or our energy emission into it. And like I said, we have the sub Sao in the beginning of our Silian Tao form.
Right. Yeah. Right. Awesome.
Next question.
Yes, let's move on.
Keep shooting.
Yes. What was I going to say there? So, okay. So you're getting close to the qigong stage of training,
Yeah.
or you're part of getting into it, or in it. How would you say that?
I've seen my Sifu doing it. He showed it to me a couple of times, but I just never. I think I'm not ready yet, so I'm not there.
Yeah,
I'm just not there.
No. Okay. No,
Yeah.
that's good. So what is your plan in the near future there, Alexander? There, like, are you
Well,
I mean, you want to share. You're sharing, the story. You're sharing your lineage. Are you hoping it'll grow more? Are you, what, like your articles?
Okay, so personally, I'm still training with my Sifu, and I'm teaching. But obviously, I think this is a common goal for everybody, is that we hope that this COVID-19 thing gets over very quickly, so we can all go back to our training, and we can do our seminars, and we can do our open classes and whatsoever. Yeah. So actually, I have been having this idea of setting up an international seminar sort of thing. It's still an idea, because it got delayed because of the COVID-19 thing. But having a seminar to talk about my lineage and have some people come over and experience what our style is like, I've been wanting to do that for quite some time now. So yeah, and because that didn't work out because of the COVID-19, that's why I switched to doing what I'm doing right now on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to get everybody know, like, to sort of putting ourselves on the global map, so people know us. We're here. Yeah, we're here. Hi.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah.
No, that's
we
awesome.
exist.
Yeah.
We exist.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. So So if or when this COVID-19 thing is over, yeah, I'm just figuring out how to get this seminar thing going. And, yeah, either I'll travel to wherever you are, or whoever's interested, or if you all decided to come to the holy land of Wing Chun, to Hong Kong, or to Guangzhou, because it ultimately my lineage started from Guangzhou, so what more? No, there's no reason not to go there. Yeah, and And currently, yeah, this is what I'm doing so for now. And
Perfect.
there's this security guard training organization that wants to incorporate Wing Chun to their training techniques, and they recently just reached out to me. So that's second thing I'm working on right now.
Excellent. Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, so I know that there's the Duncan lineage that incorporates their syllabus to the Marines, to the soldiers, and I think I forgot whose lineage that's teaching police officers in the state. So yeah, I think it's a great honor to have our style or our martial arts incorporated into to actual professional work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to keep me posted on that. Let me know how that pans out. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'd love to. Yeah.
So typically we're getting ready to wrap up. Again, appreciate you being here. Sharing
Thanks for
your
having me.
yeah, no,
Pleasure's all mine.
sharing your story, and then definitely lots about your system, your lineage there. What could you recommend as a tip for our listeners? And it can be super specific or fairly general. You could break it down into a beginner, an intermediate, and advanced, or I mean, just a general tip for anybody training.
Uh, I saw this question that was posted in one of the Facebook groups is uh, very similar to what you're asking right now. So it's something that I've been telling myself, my friends, whoever wants to know Wing Chun, or even I'm telling it to my student right now is if you want to improve and progress further and go beyond your current level, the first thing you have to know is know Wing Chun. That I mean, you have to know the theories, the philosophy behind every technique, the techniques themselves, the rules of engagement, because that's ultimately that helps you apply your skills in actual combat situations, whether it's with a training partner or you're using it to protect yourself or whatnot. So you have to know Wing Chun. Second thing is you have to know yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your preferences, what you like, what you don't like. Not just about Wing Chun, about anything. Because if you've discovered this second point, you can move on to the third, which is you can know how to have Wing Chun best suit you. So know these three things and then keep practicing. Practice, practice, practice.
Yeah.
Not just with anybody, not just within your school, not just with people of your same size. Go try your skills out with people of different sizes, bigger than you, smaller than you. Even try it with a kid. A kid in your school, of course, that knows Wing Chun, obviously. Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, obviously. Don't just beat up a random kid in the street.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, try your skills with different sizes, different ages, because how you use your skills will vary depending on the opponent's body size. And ultimately, yes, practice your skill with other styles, because that breaks the boundary that Wing Chun doesn't work.
Right.
Because I believe Wing Chun works in all situations. It could work in an MMA environment. It could work because it works in the street. But obviously the rules are different. As Bruce Lee puts it, if you have gloves on, if you have regulations, the whole thing changes. But it doesn't mean it doesn't work.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah, so go out, try your stuff.
Love it. Yeah, that's awesome. Those are some great tips. Thanks for sharing those.
No
that
problem.
reminded me, I got another question. Usually
Shoot.
that's one of the last ones. Do you have a theory component in your lineage? Like, is the or in sorry, in your school specifically? Because I mean, it's basically, um, yeah. Do you have a theory component where you will sit and, or is it just an open dialogue with you and your sifu?
Yeah, because Wing Chun it in itself is a theory-based art. It's most everything evolves around theories.
Hmm.
It's just theories put into action.
Hmm.
So why we do a tan sao this way, why we do our bong sao this way, even as I explained earlier, it's all it's all reason based, and so in other words, it's theory based. So yeah, if there's always a session, a part where he will show me when I'm learning, he will show me a technique. I will learn the structure, and he will explain why it's done this way.
Gotcha.
And then he will go on to actually practice using it as a actual drill.
Hmm. Nice.
And exactly that's how exactly I teach my student, anyways,
Nice.
because it's a theory-based art.
And that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Awesome. One last one. If people
Go
want to
on.
get if people want to get a hold of you,
Mhm.
how would people get a hold of how would they get a hold of you, Alexander Lee?
Through your channel,
Of course.
through your Facebook group, Wing Chun Talk.
Thank you. Thank you for the plug.
Yeah.
Perfect. Love
So
it.
my Facebook is Alex space Xander. If those on your forum will know who I am, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can get a hold of me,
Mm-hmm.
or you can find me, or you can actually email me, or yeah, I can send you my email,
Sure.
Shawn,
Yep.
in a short while. So
No
for
problem.
those who are listening, it's alex.sumjee, SUMJEE @gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank
So
you.
feel free to shoot questions, ask about lineage, ask
Yeah.
about anything
Yeah.
you're interested in. Yeah, just
No,
reach
that's
out. So
awesome.
for those who didn't catch that, I will post. I will send Shawn my email, and he will post it out.
Totally. Yes. Thank you. Awesome. Well, I appreciate everything. I appreciate the talk, spending some time with me. Anything else you want to finish
So,
off with before we wrap up for the evening? Or sorry, it's evening for me,
yeah,
morning for
noon for
you.
me.
I know.
Noon for me. Yeah.
I should
Um. Yeah. Keep training.
keep training. I love it. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I have an open mind, so I doesn't really matter what lineage you're from. I I'm sure you've seen me posting on Facebook. I try to keep it as harmonized as possible. So try not to offend anyone. So yeah, uh, keep training. Do what you do best.
keep training. Keep talking Wing Chun talk. Keep an open mind. Yeah, I love it. I appreciate you sharing with us and me and you know my listeners.
Yeah,
I
it's all
do.
for Wing Chun. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, without further ado, I'll catch you on the next one.